The word obey means to comply with the command, direction, or request of someone or a law. It means to submit under the authority of. Welcome to Words Are Medicine with Dr. Estrelita Bruce. Hey everyone, it's Dr. E and I want to welcome you to Words Are Medicine. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click the subscribe button and turn on those notifications so that you don't miss any Words Are Medicine episodes. Don't forget that there are other Words Are Medicine episodes. If you haven't taken a chance to look at them, make sure that you do so because I truly believe that it will be the right medication for your soul. Today, we are taking the pill of obedience. Wow, the pill of obedience. This is one pill I think is just a little bit hard to swallow. Have you ever taken medication that you know just did not taste good? If you didn't have to take it, you wouldn't. But sometimes that medication is important and necessary in order for you to feel better. The same goes with the pill of obedience. Sometimes it is so difficult to swallow for various reasons. Looking at the definition of obey, it means to comply. It means to submit under the authority of someone or a law. And in this case, we are talking about being obedient to God. As we're taking the pill of obedience today, we have to talk about the opposite of that. What are some reasons why we tend to not obey God? One is complete rebellion. You just want to do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what God has told you to do. You're still in a space where you're wanting to exercise your freedom and just live your life outside of God's will. Other reasons why we probably disobey God is because of our level of comfort, or you just have fears of, it failing because you've had past experiences of failure, so you don't want to fail again. Another reason that we may disobey God is because of the responsibility that it requires. So that is why when taking the pill of obedience, it sometimes requires us to be a little bit thoughtful. And as we're thinking about the things of what potentially could be as we've taken on responsibility, as we're moving outside of our comfort zone, as we're overcoming our fears, it can cause us to be a little bit hesitant of taking that pill. However, there are rewards to obedience. When we obey God, we experience His peace, His joy. We get to live in the space of faith where it says that the just shall live by faith. As you're taking the pill of obedience today, remember that your yes will lead you into the path of the benefits of God. And there is no greater place than being in the will of God. And when this word obedience came to me, I immediately thought about one character in the Bible that I'm sure that you're familiar with, and that is Jonah. God told Jonah to go into the city of Nineveh, that great city, to preach to them, to repent because they were just living their lives in a way that they wanted to. Their history and culture was serving other gods, and God wanted to spare that city. And what did Jonah do? It says that in Jonah chapter 1 that God gave him this command. He went completely opposite of where God told him to go, that they experienced a storm, and that the people on the boat almost died. Jonah threw himself over because he knew that it was his decision that led up to those consequences. Very recently, I heard a minister talk about how Jonah's life not only impacted him. If we move in that space and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. This is not going to really impact anyone. You're wrong. I just want to ask you, what are some things that God is telling you to do? There may be some things that He wants you to start, whether that's a business, a nonprofit, changing your behavior on your job, more prayerful in your marriage, in your relationship. There may be things that God is calling you to do and wanting you to do, but you're deciding not to. I want you to check the reasons behind your no. What is causing you to disobey? We don't disobey for no reason, right? So we have to be able to check those fears or the reasons why it is causing us to go in the opposite direction of God. You begin to identify that. I truly believe that God is going to be gracious to you to help you to say yes. So when Jonah was thrown off the boat, of course, that big fish swallowed him up. And in that space, that's where he repented. The reason why Jonah didn't want to do this because he felt like the people of Nineveh didn't really deserve God's grace. And in actuality, being judgmental, he didn't think that God was doing the right thing. So he got really upset. Many times when God is telling us to do something, it may be difficult. We may have to go and connect with people who may not share the same values as we do, or share the same beliefs as we do. And there may be a history of that. But we can't make that decision. Only God can. And if God is moving on your heart to do that, this is an opportunity for you to check your heart's intention and maybe even experience some healing in those areas. A lot of times we don't want to do what God has told us to do either because there may be some level of brokenness and hurt there. I truly believe that Jonah missed the opportunity for not only God to use him to speak to the people of Nineveh, he could allow God to work on his heart as well. Because even in scripture, you will see that after Jonah had did what God told him to do, and God did move forward in the things that he said he was going to do, and he did spare Nineveh, he was gracious to them, and he did forgive them, Jonah was still upset. He was so mad at God. His response towards God and his heart's intentions were really not in the right place. If you read those chapters, it really doesn't end on a good note. God is very much still angry with Jonah, but God still spared Jonah in the midst of that, and he was trying to teach him a lesson. But what is God trying to teach you? If he has not left you alone and you're still kind of tussling with God about certain decisions and he's still impressing upon you to do something, that is really the grace of God. I think one of the most dangerous places to be is outside the will of God. So if God is nudging on your heart today to take the pill of obedience, I just want to encourage you to do so. A little story time here. I really want to take this time to share why I started Words Are Medicine. So as a therapist, as we have our clients, when we get to the very end of the sessions, which is the last session, we're getting ready to do what is called terminating a client. It means to end counseling sessions with them. And in this session, we often talk about meeting their counseling goals, some of the things that they've learned, and some things and skills and, coping tools that they will continue to implement outside of session. I had this client, we were on our last session, and they began to share their feedback and some of the things that they've learned. And one thing that this client said to me, they said, "Dr. E, your words are like medicine." And when I tell you, when this client made this statement, it really began to tear up. And I started to realize the impacts of my word. I know that professional counseling, ethically, we're supposed to say the right things. There is a whole skill in our active listening, as well as being able to share at the right time and using the right words. But in that moment for me, it resonated in such a way that it spoke to my spirit. And I told this client how much I thanked them. And when I left session, I began to pray about that because it literally spoke to my bones, that very deep place. And I began to pray and I say, "Lord, thank you so much for using my words to help someone, to change the course of their life, to maybe change their view and perspective, and to offer some type of healing and hope." And I said, "Lord, there is something about words are medicine. What do you want me to do? What is it that you want me to do with it?" And I really felt in my spirit the Lord wanted me to start a YouTube channel. I have to tell you, I have a couple of channels out there, right? And to be honest with you, they've been kind of start stops and just really haven't flowed the way that I wanted them to. When I received this message, I was a bit hesitant, but then came the fear. I thought about maybe I would not be successful, I would fail, there would be some inconsistencies, and then I really began to question my gifts, my skill, even my identity. And really the other part of that too was I wanted to make sure that the Lord told me this because I didn't want to start and stop. I wanted to be consistent in this thing. Y'all, that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Can you imagine if I just embraced and took the pill of obedience in that moment? Who knows where it would be present day? However, God is a gracious God. And I took that 2 years as a learning opportunity and moment to really assess my own thoughts, to heal from some areas in my life that maybe I felt inadequate in, to really address that imposter syndrome within myself, because God has already called me, He has already qualified me. I have the skills, I have the expertise, I have the education. Why was I afraid? It had to do with trusting in myself. Sometimes those spiritual attacks came, but really at the heart of it, it was all about trusting God. So this year I decided to take the pill of obedience and move forward with Words Are Medicine. And that is how Words Are Medicine got started. I really pray that Words Are Medicine will continue to be a space for you to heal, to experience safety, to experience that closer connection with God, and for you to be inspired in your life and take the medication for your soul that will increase your journey to be more faithful to God, to extend help to others, and to walk in your purpose. I pray that today's message really spoke to you and resonated with you. I would love to hear maybe how it impacted you today. Don't forget to download the free Jumpstart worksheet so that you can assess some areas in your life that maybe you need to be a little bit more open in being obedient to God and to comply to the things that He is instructing you to do. Also assess some of the reasons behind why you're being a bit hesitant, or the reason why you're just flat out saying no. Trust me, I do get it. I understand. You know, I've been there. That is why I wanted to share my story with you. I am so excited about Words Are Medicine. This one today is one that I truly believe is special. I pray that it really does speak to you and it causes change and transformation in your life. Because when we take the right medication for our souls, it can change everything. It can increase our quality of life and help us to choose differently. And we can begin to choose the things that align with God and what He desires for us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications so that you don't miss any Words Are Medicine episodes in the future. I look forward to seeing you. Until next time.